are ready to get started with our next webinar in the Life as a Sex Worker series. This is Career Longevity, and I'm your hostess, Lotus Lane, your industry relations advocate over at Free Speech Coalition. And these lovely webinars are sponsored by Chatterbait, so we're very thankful for them. And I'm very thankful for my panelists today for making time with us to speak with us and share all the things that they've done in their career up to now. So yeah, let's get started with the beautiful Christy Canyon, industry veteran.
I'm honored to be here, Lotus. You've been on my show so many times. It's nice to be on yours.
Thank you for being here with us. And then we also have Carla Lane.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, beautiful.
And Art. Go ahead and unmute.
Hi, everybody. Lucy Hart. Glad to be here.
Cool. So I would just like to say that we're going to ask them a couple questions and they'll give us their answers. If you have questions as an audience member, you can put them in a Q&A section down there at the bottom of your screen. There's usually a place to answer questions. And then we'll do that towards the end. But if you want to use the chat, I will try to look there towards the end as well. So yeah, let's get started with how we come to think about career longevity in our industry. A lot of people tend to think of porn as like a quick career or not even a career at all. It doesn't last. It's in and out. And that is the case for many people. But you know, if you're someone that doesn't want that to be the case, that wants to kind of be a lifer, so to speak, or you love this industry and you don't want to just depend on performing alone, we want to talk about other ways to kind of think about how to extend your career. So yeah, let's see. One of the first things that I wanted to ask was, when you entered the industry, when you first entered the industry, what were your goals then as far as your career? What when you envisioned your porn career, what did you see? What did you think? And maybe, yeah, how long did you even think that was going to last? Yeah, Carla, do you want to go first?
So for me, I knew I was going to be a lifer. From the beginning, I thought this is going to be part of who I am as a person until the day I decide not to have sex on camera anymore. But I've always kind of, in the beginning when I started, there wasn't that many plus size. So I was like, I'm going to be it. Hi there. Put this fat body in everything you have. So that was kind of my thing. And there was never an end game. It was always just almost aging on camera. That I thought would be interesting to see somebody from 18 to whatever age I decided I was out.
That's really cool that you had that thought of aging on camera already. And especially as a woman, you weren't afraid of that, you know? That's cool. Awesome. Right on. You're actually getting better with age, fine wine. So why the fuck would you be afraid of something like that? Christy, what about you? I know you also entered in the early ages. What were your thoughts about what your goals were going to be?
Absolutely no goals in mind, except paying my fucking cheap rent at some shithole in Hollywood. It was such a different era. I started in mid 84. So it was that kind of thing where you didn't think, oh my God, this is my career. This is great. You're like, I think it's illegal. I'm not, it was kind of like in the 80s, how you could sell a bong and you could sell rollers and papers, but you couldn't sell the pot. That's how porn was. You could sell it, but you couldn't make it. It was like a catch-22. No goals except survival and how to get a car, because my MG midget was always breaking down. It was really like, oh my God, I can make $500 a day by doing what I'm doing in a fucking parking lot at the end of the night at a dance club. It was such a different time frame and such different goals back then. A lot of us, I mean, I'm thinking like Ginger and even Amber, we were just like, this is fun. Yeah. This is so rebellious. I always thought, who looks at this stuff? No one's going to even notice me or, that kind of thing. I never looked at it as a career. I looked at it like, okay, I'm going to do this till I catch up on my bills and not see that red past due stamp on my telephone bill, and that kind of thing. And it just, I mean, kind of obviously 37 years morphed and snowballed, but it was never a career choice by any means because it was so underground. It wasn't glamorized. There was no money in it. You made films, you got your $500, next scene, 500. There was no byproduct. Like, I'm going to parlay this into this. And, we were just a bunch of rebellious 18-year-olds, with the exception of Tracy Lords, just having fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really interesting to say, though, because that does speak to the way that you've been able to like turn with the times, because you didn't come in here with a game plan. You did come in with the idea of like, yeah, I'm just here for sex and fun and making money, surviving, which is a case for a lot of us. It really is. So it's cool to see that you can still pivot and like be here as like the queen that you are, doing what you do.
Thanks. The crown's a little tilted these days.
Hey, with the tilt, that's a little swag, that's a little style. So I love that. So yeah.
Nothing that we had no game plan back in the 80s at all. I think Ginger Lynn did. I lied. Ginger knew she wanted to parlay it into like B movies and TV, but
she probably laid the groundwork for what a lot of us are able to do now. So that's cool.
I didn't even mean to. It was totally by accident.
Accidental icon. Lucy, so what about you? What were your goals and thoughts about what you wanted your career to be when you entered the industry?
Well, I wanted to own my own business. I had a couple friends before I was in porn who were like entrepreneurs, or they basically, I saw them, I knew they woke up around 10 or 11 a.m. They worked from their laptop a little bit, and then that was kind of it. And they traveled whenever they wanted to, and just kind of, I was like, oh, I want that. How do I get that? And I actually tried in a lot of industries and failed miserably everywhere, just because I was just a little mentally, and just a little having trouble. And then someone asked me to be in a porn, and day one on the porn set, I was at Sean Cody doing gay porn. I thought, oh, this is a business I could run. I could start one of these. Like, whoa, okay, how do I do this? How do I do this? And that's what I did. So I'm doing it, and it took longer than I thought. I thought, when you think you have a good business idea, you're like, oh, I'll be a millionaire in 5 years. It's been like, I don't know, 15 years, right? And I'm here. It worked. I don't really work anymore. Kind of retired. I'm 42 and kind of fuck off all day. So it's like, okay, it worked.
You've achieved your goal.
We achieved the goal of, I just sit at home and I run payroll on Wednesdays, and I answer emails every now and then, and that's my livelihood. But knock on wood, that could all go away, because the directors at Bay could be like, I don't want to do this anymore, and then I gotta go back to work, or the performer, I don't know, I might have to start performing again. I don't know. But I knew what I was gonna have to do, and I went and did it. And what I had to do was like literally everything, like learn how to make the website, learn how the server works, learn how what wardrobe sells, what doesn't, what niches work, what don't, how to leverage the platforms. Back when I started, it was clips for sale. We didn't have the other stuff yet. So how do I do that and then make a website out of that? So I had to do all that and meet all the people and travel around. And I was broke for like 5 or 6 years, just broke. Like every penny I had went back into it. But I think that was the only trick I had, was that I had one goal, and that was to get here. And that's, that was my focus.
Like laser focused. Carla,
yeah, just like
knew it was a calling, and Christy was like, I'm just here to have fun and like.
Yeah, Christy just winged it, which is awesome. That's awesome. That's the best, when you just wing it and it works.
I love hearing all the different ways you were guys were thinking about how we were going to enter the industry and what you're going to do with it, because it really does show that we don't all come in with the same thoughts or goals or things in mind of how we're going to do this. I'm especially curious with what you just said, Lucy, about like you were saying you were broke, but then you were putting all your money back into it. You weren't like broke. You were making money, but all the money you were making, you weren't like spending on like yourself and like activities. You were putting it back into the business, right?
Yeah, well, like it's cringy to talk like how much money do you make, but this is a
No, I'm not
situation
saying
where
numbers.
but
When
someone
people
listening,
think
they
like,
need to know.
yeah,
They need to know like, okay, who's full of shit and who's not. So for example, in 2011, my business was me, right? Just one person. And I was bringing in about 20,000 a month through clips for sale and wherever else, like performing, occasional escorting, like barely escorting. I was a shitty hooker, I like really never got that down. But the other stuff, custom videos, selling my underwear, let all of it together, about 20 grand a month. But I took my eating budget, like to eat was more like 200 bucks a month. Like I definitely had to eat, like I could eat hot dogs. I could afford hot dogs, but so it wasn't just ramen, but it was like, I couldn't go out and get a steak dinner and stuff like that. Like it
right.
was
You weren't spending on a lot, like to live a lifestyle. You were spending to get to this goal point right here.
If I was taking a trip, it was to go to like the Phoenix Forum or XBiz, like the nerdy conventions, not the fun ones, where you meet the web developers and the traffic.
But you show out at the fun ones too,
how do you trade traffic and porn? Like I did, like, how do I do this? So you had to go to the show. So I had to spend $1,000 and stay in a Motel 6 and like, be broke and that kind of stuff. I had to do that, but
hustle.
Yeah, hustle. But the hustle as it grows, like the first month, it was like I was working off of 1,000 a month. And then a year later, it was like, okay, maybe it's like 3,000. I can kind of get away with this and that. And I did at one point, someone invested in me, but that's if I had one advice, it would be don't do that. That's so stupid. It was lazy. He only gave me $5 grand and he ended up owning like 30% of everything I did until I finally bought him out. And it was like, It cost me years later, it cost me 80 grand to buy him out from that $5 grand. So with lawyers and everything, and he like got sleazy with the model. It was a friend of mine. You know what I mean? Like someone who's going to buy into you as a performer. If they're not a performer, there's a good chance they might just be creepy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'd say like, don't just work. I wish and then since then I've just worked harder. I don't take investors. I just work harder or don't buy it if I can't afford it. You know what I mean?
That's good advice. That's good advice. Oftentimes we do get caught up feeling like, oh, this person wants to invest in me, or, I'm getting the star treatment because now I have a little team, but sometimes the team is not really on your team. So
it's better to pay people that you can fire. You know what I mean? like people that aren't your friends that you maybe don't even really like talking to, but they're really good at whatever the job is, like the data entry job or something.
Yeah.
You want to pay because if they work for us in porn, they're not good enough to work for Apple or Amazon. Like that's just the facts, man. Like if they were like a coder, like a developer, if they're really good, they'd be working at Amazon. You know what I mean? So if they work for us, it's because something went a little funky and now they're working for the weird porners. So, I mean, you gotta like, that's the truth. I mean, that's my experience. So you gotta like, whatever it is, marketing, any like back end job, I need to know how to do all of it.
Website making stuff.
Yeah, I need to know how to do all that myself. The traffic trades, the email blasts, the fucking everything.
Especially when you're talking about back end people that you work with, you have to be more cautious because they don't have an in the industry, and working with us and offering us all their services would be their in.
Yep.
In.
And then next thing you know, they're like, my buddy's getting married. Can you get some girls for a bachelor party? And you're like, what? It's not what we do. Like we're porn. We're not that. I don't know. Different job, Yeah. So, anyway.
I got you. Yeah. Word of caution. That's interesting. So Christy, especially because you didn't start out with this like game plan of what you're going to do, what was it in your career that you started thinking like, I could do other things besides just performing sex on camera? Because you have a really popular radio show that you've done for years. I don't know when you started that, but also just in general, like when did you start branching out?
In 1984, I got in, and then I quit in 85 because we worked every day. They couldn't get enough girls to shoot video because it was like the boom of video age. So I was literally working between magazines, which were huge in the 80s, box covers, because they took a whole day to do a box cover. I think I had like one day off a month. So after 9 months, I was exhausted. I couldn't work anymore. I just called up Jim South. I was supposed to work for Hal Friedman, if anyone remembers him. And I was like, I gotta quit. My body is exhausted. Like we were doing 2 to 3 scenes a day. I mean, but anyway, so I quit, but I still love the business. Anyway, I worked for my dad for 4 years. I got back in 1989 and I became a Vivid girl. So now I'm back in what I consider top of the food chain with Vivid. And there still was not much else. There was no internet in the 90s. There was, we would do little things like the Hustler trading cards. We'd get paid, $1 to sign 5,000 of them. You get $1, like things like that were extras. Or Vivid would send the Vivid girls on the 2-week book tours at bookstores. But there still wasn't a lot of byproduct in the business until I started dancing in like 1990. Then you had films and dancing and a bookstore signing, but there still wasn't that much to do. Oh, I lied. I had a snail mail fan club. And let me tell you, snail mail fan club was rocking. We would do things with Vivid, like 900 number, you'd record. So you'd go to Vivid for a day and you'd record all these stories. Then you couldn't even say a bad word because you'd get kicked off. You'd act like, oh God, Rapunzel let down your hair, baby. Oh yeah. But you couldn't talk dirty in the 90s on a 900 number, at least the ones for Vivid. So we do little things like that. But it wasn't until really when the internet kicked in that all these byproducts of being an adult film star really came to fruition. But then let's say I quit dancing. So you had dancing and films. Those were, and the snail mail fan clubs. Those were the 3 big money makers back in the day. And then I quit dancing in like 2001. I was just tired of traveling all the time and spending, my Christmas at the fucking Pittsburgh airport. And then I wrote a book because I was like, what do I do? Like, I've never had a real job. I mean, I worked at Bullock's, if anyone remembers that department store, for a week. Like, no, this is so not right for me. But anyway, so I wrote a book, and then that's when I got my job in 2004 on Playboy Radio Sirius XM. So it was just kind of a natural progression. And I always had my website, the old school ChristyCanyon.com, which they're so archaic now compared to like an OnlyFans, which I also have. But still back in 99, 2000, they were like the hottest thing to do. So that kind of crept in at the new millennium, but I mean, compared to everything you could do now, it's still nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, you had 4 sources of income back then. You had website, dancing, films, and fan club. Like there still wasn't that much to do, but I was so busy with, other things. I don't even know what else there was. I mean, there was one social media, MySpace.
That's so true.
It kicked me off for no reason because I was I was so.
Wow, so they were already doing the discrimination as early back then too.
They did. I remember one day I went to log on. They're like, we kicked you off for violating. I'm like, but what did I do? I never post anything nude. Nothing. They don't need a reason, but that was the first time I was ever discriminated. It had to be about 2006. And that was the first time I thought, you don't like me. Everyone fucking likes me.
That is so cool. It's really good to hear all of the different progressions from the different eras of porn, especially from you having lived through that, really makes you grateful for how much abundance we have as far as opportunities to expand and grow, because sometimes it can feel overwhelming. Some people lament that, but at the same time, there's so many options. So, you don't have to just go in one lane.
One thing that I have to say that I do in a weird way kind of miss from the pre-internet days, you went to work, whether it was making a film, whether it was dancing for 5 days at Deja Vu in fucking, Tallahassee, Florida, whatever. Then you came home and you were done. You didn't have to wake up and turn on the computer or turn your phone on and log on to like now I go, God, it was kind of fun. You may not have made as much, maybe you did, I don't know. But there was something fun about when you were done with work, it was done.
Yeah.
You go to the beach and you weren't checking your phone at the red light to see if someone sexted you on Sex Panther. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
something very, you had two separate lives. When you were done with the character, you just lived your personal life. Now they kind of intertwine a lot.
Yeah, your character is very much always on the other side of what you're doing, because you could get a good selfie here, you could do a quick video there or something,
Right. I was at the market the other day at the produce, and I'm like, you know, I'm like,
hey, get those melons next to the melons, Christy.
in the frozen food, the nipples are hard. I'm like, I gotta take this photo. Like, but so that's the one thing that I kind of liked, was you had complete separation of business and pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not here. So you got to just move on with the times. And sometimes I'll find myself too much on the phone. It's weird. It's such a weird thing.
Yeah.
I have to, like, limit myself and go, okay, don't worry, you could take 3 hours off and the world's not going to crash.
Right. Yeah, I know it's hard self-controlling ourselves now with those impulses to check our stats, you know, respond to a message. All of those things always mean money, numbers, which is what we all look for.
And lately, who's fucking impostering me on Instagram? Who do I need?
Yeah.
You know, like, that's another animal that you have to deal with.
A whole nother struggle. Exactly. So I want to ask specifically, getting into the nitty gritty, because we've kind of danced around it, but what specifically do you all do besides perform as a porn performer, that maybe is also adjacent to the adult industry? Carla, do you want to go with this? You're on mute.
Am I speaking? We're
Yeah.
in, we're in.
Oh,
So for me, I have always had a vanilla job. For a while, it was, I was selling furniture or something, working for my family, and it was always coincide to what I do. For me, porn was always fun money. I could spend it on whatever I wanted without it hurting my household. Or in my case, I saved the first 3 years of money to buy my house. And now I own a catering company. Literally right now in my kitchen, I am cooking for a small commercial for 12 people. And I'm going to do a drop-off lunch for them and have that ready to go. And we're making our veggie chicken bowls. And that's kind of something I do. It's something that I've been hired so often to do.
kind of something you do. I would like say that like is equally as good as you are a performer. Your catering is superb. It's just,
Thank you.
yeah, it's scary how good it is. How excited we get when your catering's on set.
Thank you so much. And that's something that's kind of coincided that I got hired to do one set, and then I got hired to do another set. And next month I'm booked for 4 movies to cater, and then I have 3 shoots. So sometimes it just coincides that it works out, but people need to eat.
Yeah.
In the adult industry, we eat like shit typically on set. So
Right.
if we can change that and hire somebody to actually feed us well, why wouldn't we? And the price isn't that much higher than if you were to go to, or sometimes less than if you were to order it from a restaurant and do Grubhub and things like that. So for me, it's kind of the double side, keeping everybody happy, keeping everybody healthy, because I'm like, I'm doing a chicken veggie bowl. I'm like, normally it would be like, here's the slice of pizza in your water. And
yeah. Or like, there's some bagels over there, and you're like, really? I'm about to perform. No, that's really wonderful. I love the way something started out kind of small, something that you already were good at, and now it's a really like a major part of the industry as far as we know. Carla, she caters on set, you know it's going to be good. And you're right. I think that's something that some people that may be watching this can think of is, what do they already possess? What talents do they already have, or what resources that could bring added value to the already existing industry that we may not even be thinking about? Like, people weren't thinking about healthy foods and catering on set. It was just like In-N-Out sandwich and some chips, pizza, like you said, donuts, sometimes the most like horrible stuff to keep your energy going on set. So it's really cool that you started just thinking like that, because I'm not gonna lie, like you've inspired me to do those kinds of spreads on my set sometimes. So, it's just like one of those things where you get people to think like, oh yeah, we can actually have better sets. So think about what you can bring to the table.
To say that I love hearing that, because when again I started in the fucking dark ages, you had 3 catered meals. You had breakfast, you had lunch, and you had dinner. And it really was like being on a regular, commercial film, whatever, like a studio film.
Yeah.
Some sex involved, but you had hair, you had makeup, you had food 24/7. Like it was so glamorous and beautiful and wonderful. And then I remember going to some sets to visit friends or whatever, and they'd have like and I'd be like, where's the food? I'm kind of hungry. They're like, see the red vines, the tub of red vines. I'm like, yeah, is it behind that? Like, and they're like, oh, that's food these days. And I was thinking, oh my God. I mean, and yet I get it because not everyone's got the big budgets like they used to, but it's a shame. So I love hearing, Carla, that you're bringing back that kind of old school glamour to the business. And food is glamour. You need good food.
Yes, and Carla's spreads are very glamorous. They make you feel elevated. They do, as opposed to when you see just like a rumpled bag of chips and then you're like, ew, I feel like that's what makes you feel like a crappy porn star and not a glamorous one, honestly.
Or a big grab bag of potato chips that's just still in the bag, all rumpled and like halfway done. So you're reaching in going, I don't know what else is in there.
Yeah, who all has been in here?
It's not even in a bowl where you could see it. You're just blindly reaching in the grab bag.
Exactly. So that's cool. I love hearing that, Carla. Lucy, you kind of alluded to some of the things that you're doing now, but for those of us that like to hear the nitty gritty, what exactly all do you do right now as far as the way you've expanded?
Well, I mean, lately it's, I don't know, I'm very fortunate. I don't have to do, it's like I said, I'm kind of retired, so I don't do a ton, but like getting there, I still had a day job. And I did gigs like painting houses and construction demolition, like, whatever I could do to get a little extra cash to get my business going. And I'm really glad I did that. And I've always, even today, I'm transitioning to female. And if I go, I'm not going to do this, but if I went and got a job at Starbucks, they would give me health insurance, which would pay for a lot of surgeries for free. And I was like, could I go back? Because I used to work at Starbucks like way back. I'm like,
yeah,
I loved working at Starbucks. It was a lot of fun,
it's fun
but
to talk to people.
I probably won't, because once you get older and lazy, it's like hard to get back into grinding. I'll probably just spend the money. But I do see a lot of my friends, they're like hesitant to go out and just, it sounds like a boomer, but like just go out and get a job while you do this, like Carlos do it, because it's okay to like drive Uber too. And like, it's okay to supplement, because what doesn't work is going on Twitter and saying, no one will book me. Why? No one buys my customs. Oh, no. It hurts. People don't want to spend money on someone who's doing that. And then it's a spiral. So if the less you need it, the more it comes, kind of a thing. So I think it's really awesome when I have a friend, a performer who I think is one of the best. And when he can't get work, he flies out to the East Coast and he builds fences like for houses. It's like a construction guy. He's a sexy dude, badass performer. And he's like, why would I just sit around Vegas when there's no work here? No one's booking me. My OnlyFans is stacked up. Everything's good. I'm going to go grind,
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome. And I'm sure he'll keep doing that until he doesn't need to do that anymore. And then he'll be like, well, okay, now I'm good when I'm just sitting at home. You know what I mean? So I think that's key. But yeah, these days I do like FSC and past stuff, like the nonprofit board stuff I don't get paid for. And
But
try to help people.
Your
Well,
input,
after, I don't know, try to be somewhat useful. I don't know if I'm any useful, but yeah, just try to be helpful. So you need help and do that stuff. Like to help people get sober, stuff like that if they want it, I don't know, but yeah, but grind, nothing wrong with grinding, man. Nothing. Don't hate on anyone's hustle, for anything. But on the flip side of that, I did have to cut, like, there was a point where I had to say, I'm not selling my socks and underwear anymore. I'm done, because it was the time it took me to package underwear or pee on it or something,
Yeah,
and then put it in a package
odors.
and then
Yes.
get it, do that. I could have been doing other stuff that would large scale grow my business better. That didn't. So I had to say, okay, I'm going to make less money. I'm going to have to eat hot dogs and not eat out for another few months. And I'm going to cut this part out of my budget. There's a point where I said, I'm not doing custom videos anymore. I'm done. I want to be, Evil Angel doesn't do custom videos. You know what I mean? Kink.com doesn't do custom videos. Why am I want to be there. So how am I got to make that change. So I had to take a hit, and I think it's super important to like sit back and be like, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Cause then it's like, what Christy was saying, everything was bleeding over into my life to where I'm constantly chasing my tail. And I didn't have time to sit back and say, well, if I could just figure out how to get like 10 times as much traffic to my pay site, I wouldn't even care about Sex Panther. You know what I mean? Like, cause you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
It's good to, I think it's good to take breaks, and it's good to test limits and say, well, what if I don't update mini vids at all for 6 months? Does it still make any money? Because maybe updating twice a year makes half as much money, but it costs a tenth of as much effort and money to do it, you know? So it's more profit. So then that time and money could be put into something else. I don't know if that makes sense, but
no,
it's important to me.
You're making sense. And I'm really glad at the points that you're bringing up, because the overall thing that I'm getting from the three of you is that it is okay to make money from outside of porn while you're doing porn. And I think one of the things sometimes maybe we get caught up in our heads is once we cross that threshold, once we're in porn land, there's no going back. There's no other world for us to make money from. We can't be seen out there. We're here. So everything we do, we have to make money with sex, escorting, you know, websites, phone sex. It has to be sex, sex, sex. And I think that's one of the major things that burns out a lot of new people, is that mentality, thinking like, well, now that I'm a sex worker, now that I'm a porn person, all I can do is make money from here. And yeah, you get burnt out trying to think that, you know, all of these bookings that maybe aren't coming, or, you know, waiting on things, or trying to make all this content, and you could maybe produce less, still make the same amount of money, but make money elsewhere and not be as stressed or overburdened. It's really cool that that's not something people think about, think is available.
And to not 24/7 have your head in that game. Like when I was dancing on the road and making films in the 90s, I thought, okay, there has to be more. I don't just want to be this Christy Canyon all the time. And I enrolled in the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. And it was such a beautiful break. I'd go Monday and Tuesday. Then I'd fly out Tuesday night on a red eye, go dance for 4 days, come home Sunday, back in, downtown at the Fashion Institute, and Like it was really, really nice. It was good. I think my number one thing, if somebody wants to get in the business, you have to keep two separate lives, because I know people that have become the character.
Yes.
And it never ends well.
Yeah.
You have to know when to do the light switch on and off, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. And I feel people really need to take heed to your advice, because you've been here and seen, and you're still standing, and you're still glorious, like I said. But you're right. There are many people that became their character, and some of them have burnt out quickly. Some of them aren't here.
They're not here. They're just, kind of, like they talk about themselves in the third person. Well, when Amber and I, oops, did that slip out? And they're kind of, and there's something, they lost track of who they were, and they just became this
persona.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah. And, I'm glad you're saying that, because that's how you keep your sanity. That's how you achieve career longevity, is maintaining your sanity. It's not cute to turn into a crazy porn star, because that's what everybody expects us to be. And that's not what's going to make you last. If you want to actually have a career here, it seems like all of you here really actually got to a point where you got focused. You started thinking outside of the box. You started thinking of your life and your happiness, and your like work life happiness, stress level balances, and everything that you've done outside of just performing has really contributed to that. And it sounds like has enhanced your ability to perform. If you
longevity.
platform. Yeah, Lucy, but
16 years, and I'm like, we're still doing what we
right.
do. But I'm like, if you just focus on being Carla Lane or anybody, I'm like, you're gonna burn yourself out, and you may make all of the money in the world, but I have friends that are making $200,000 a month, whatever amount they are making, and it's burnout, and they can't step away. They don't have anything besides being them. So it hurts. Like me, I don't imagine myself retiring. That's not going to happen. One day I might just go with, I'm out, but I won't be like this big ta-da,
Yeah.
peace everybody. I'm just going to step away and nobody's going to know what happened. And that's fine.
I'm never stepping away.
Life, because you still have your life outside of this. So it's like you're just living your life, right?
Yes. And on that note, I'm going to probably have to get going because I have to set up lunch. I just got a text message saying that they need to be
busy woman. I understand. We're getting almost close to the end anyway, so I really appreciate you making time for us and speaking about your wonderful, expansive career. Now go make
I'll
those
feed you soon.
Veggie bowls that I'm like fantasizing.
I want one.
I know. As soon as you said that, I was fantasizing. I was like, oh, I know it's good and delicious and flavorful. Bomb.
Good to see you.
Bye, everybody. Bye, ladies. Bye, gents. Bye, everybody.
And then, you know, another thing that I want to tag along to how to have longevity.
Mm-hmm.
All my years, and we're talking 37 years. Now, not in front of the camera. I stopped doing that in 98. But whatever it was, I never did anything I wasn't comfortable with. I never did anal. Why? I don't care if people do it. It's not my thing, not even in my personal life. So I don't want to sell my body because, I mean, they weren't paying me for acting. I can't act my way out of a paper bag, but I didn't want to sell something and then feel bad after and not. There's not one of my sex scenes that I can look at, you know, and go, I shouldn't have done. I'm so fucking proud of everything that I did on film because I wanted to do it. Like I remember once Peter North, I think, canceled on a Vivid shoot, and they're like, oh, he's not feeling well. I want to work with Larry White, and I looked at him and I was like, check, I can't do it. I just can't go there. Not even in doggy, you know.
Hey. I know what you mean. There's some people that I've had to, you know, secretly turn down the offer because I'm just like, I don't want to see myself on screen like that because I know it's going to be so incredibly fake and I know I'm not going to enjoy that. Exactly. So yeah, you're so right. It's one of those things. Yeah, if you have something in your performer collection that it has a real sense of embarrassment around it, that might lead to you just wanting to be like, I can't be in this industry, you know, I'm embarrassed, I do things that I don't want to do. So you really have to have that decision making, you know, gene within you and tap into that and know that you're making decisions for yourself and not other people.
Just not, and there was only one, and I know that the business has changed. I know girls now go to set and they're like, what do you mean it's a 10-man anal gangbang? I thought it was a girl. Get the fuck off the set.
Yeah.
Get off of the set. That never thankfully happened to me. There was one time a photographer in like 1984, and I think I was really hungover, and I'm like bent over, this guy, Ed, he was so creepy. I'm bent over, right? And all of a sudden I feel something on my pussy, and I'm like, shut up. And I'm like, I'm out of here. I called Jim South and I'm like, he tried to touch my pussy. Such a little brat I was, you know, but like, don't stick around if you're not comfortable.
Yeah, I don't think that's being a brat at all. You're very, in that case, especially back then, very modern about standing up for your boundaries and what you want happening to your body, which, you know, with everything going on, with what still goes on sometimes with new performers because they don't know what they can say no to, it's just so important to always drill into people's minds that you can say no at any time, you can stop a set at any time, you don't have to do things just because they're suggested to you, just because they're offered to you, just because someone says this is what's going to make your career shoot through the roof. Because oftentimes I've personally seen many new people do extreme career changing acts as in performances, and then they're literally not around within the next year.
There was a time when I started radio in 04, 05, and the longevity of a performer in that kind of 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8, 6 months.
Exactly.
And I was like, what happened? Let's get her back. Oh, she's been gone for 3 months. I'm like, we just had her on 4 months ago. Yep. She go, and it was like you were saying, that very extreme era with baseball bats and and I'm like, what a baseball? I mean, if she wants to do it,
that's
great.
the thing. If you're an extreme kinkster and that's what you're into, you should do that because you want to. But you shouldn't be doing those kinds of extreme things if it's something you've never thought of or wanted in your life anyways. With me, I got into the BDSM scene in porn because I had fantasized about it. I'd always wanted it. It was never something I was coerced into or talked into. But I imagine if that was the case, that's what causes people to not want to linger in, grow their career in the industry and stay around. So yes.
So don't do anything you're not comfortable with. And if anyone tries anything, I mean, don't get me wrong, there were sets that I'd be fucking the director because I wanted to.
Right.
But I make the move.
Yeah. Yes. Be in charge of your life, the direction of your career, and what you want to happen in it.
Right.
Lucy, do you have any other words of advice for new performer, or are there any other things within the industry that you hope to tackle, or are you already at your pinnacle?
I don't know. I hope I'm not at my pinnacle, but it definitely feels like it. Because just depends on the week, really. But I wish I got excited along the way, and where the only times I really fucked up and where I had to do shoots I didn't want to do, for example, like we're talking about, is when I started spending beyond my means, like spending my money beyond my means. But like, oh, I can finally, like I had in my head, I needed the best computer because I was editing all my own content all the time. And it really didn't make that big of a difference, like one computer to the next, but I spent way too much money on the newest Mac, whatever. And then I was like, oh, and then this other bill hit. And then this thing happened and life hit. And now I'm broke. I'm going to be negative and I can't pay the next performer for the next little clip I'm making. So I have to go do this hardcore BDSM that's not within my wheelhouse. Like I have a hardcore BDSM wheelhouse that I'm totally into, but if you're like into submissive stuff, people just assume, oh, you must also like this and you must also like this. And then, oh, you'll do this, right? And you can, if you have, it's called fuck you money is what it's called. If you have enough money in your bank account or it's called a prudent reserve in other terms, if you have 3 months worth of bills in your bank, like 3 months worth of like, I can get by, that's fuck you money. So if someone says, hey, you got to go do this shoot, so-and-so's in town, it's great exposure and it's great money, and no, it's not within your limits, but it's good. And then if you can say no, or you can walk away offset if you're like, whoa, hey, this isn't my thing. I'm out of here, guys. I can pay for my own plane ticket home. I can pay for my own hotel. I can pay for my own rental car. I'm out. But if you don't have that and you just blew all your money on something else, all of a sudden it's like, I can get through this. I can get through this. I can get through. And there's times where I did get through it and I was stronger for it. And I was like, well, maybe I am into that. Who knew? But there's other times where it's straight up traumatic, man. You're getting literally tortured on film, and then it gets relived on Twitter over and over and over, and you're like, oh God. And then you got to be nice to those people who tortured you for like years, and it's like, God. And it, like, if they're dudes, you can be like, yeah, fuck that turkey. But when it's women, you can't be. You know what I mean?
No, I know.
You got to be nice to them.
That a woman was abusive in a way that people would actually take it seriously.
Yeah, you just can't. Now I'm almost, I don't know what I am. I'm like transitioning female, but
You're in a cocoon.
I'm in a cocoon. I'm a smudge right now, but that's all right. But I actually legally I'm a female, whatever that means. So there's that as of this week, but whatever. Anyway, but well, thank you. We'll get there. Give me a year, I'll be hot. It's gonna take time. But no, but I'm just saying, spend less than you make. It sounds, and when I was 20, an entrepreneur I looked up to said, it's not that hard. Spend less than you make. All right. And I was like, but how? I got this piling up and I got this and I got to eat, right?
And I want these things.
And everyone else has a smartphone. Back then, like I need a BlackBerry. Everyone else has a BlackBerry. How can I can't even live without what? And, but no, spend less than you make. And if that means, embarrassment and I can't go to that dinner with those people, or I can't, or I can't go to an event, or I can't whatever. Okay, you know what I mean? And when I live that way, I'm happy and everything's cool and I can grow and flourish. And when I take a big risk, it doesn't always work out, man. And so it's that's the thing. It's just live within my means, whatever that means. And if that means get a side gig, drive Uber, cool. If that means whatever that means. And I've never been scared to hustle, but there's some hustles I wish I didn't do. You know what I mean? Like some gigs I wish I didn't take, and people I wish I didn't work with, and partnerships I wish I didn't do, and you know what I mean? So, and I wouldn't have had to do any of that if I just spent less than I made, you know? So I think that's key. I don't know, like outside of that is try everything, right?
No, that's awesome foundation for understanding how to get to a level of like where you both are at. You know, it doesn't come by spending, you know, your first paycheck on Louis Vuitton bags and it's awesome stuff for the gram, you know, to look cute. It comes from really grinding, saving your money, and being humble.
Well, and the really happy people I know who are like fucking rich also, they don't always, a lot of them drive like Toyota Camrys, you know what I mean? And they wear like dad shoes, you know, like New Balances, and they, you know what I mean? They don't fly private everywhere, even though they could, because they're not trying to impress people they don't know anymore.
Right.
You know, and I've had to learn that as I got older. Like the people I'm trying to impress with whatever, they don't even really think about me, you know? like I should care about my wife and my family and my friends and being good to strangers, but not trying to impress them with like
the
whatever,
flash.
you know? Yeah, so that shit doesn't matter.
The impressing part is online.
Right. Yeah, like, you know, every now and then. But I can get just as much clout off of taking a cute picture of my cat, you know what I mean, as I could taking a selfie flying on a private jet. You know what I mean? You get just as many likes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
So who cares? You know what I mean? But yeah, spending less than I make is cool. That's really cool when I can, like, you know, I don't know. That's like, what's the point if you're like, when I was making 20,000 a month on clips for sale, but I only had 200 at the end of the month? That sucks, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that it's not cool. But now it's like everything's like, hey, we're comfy, you know. That's what I wanted. So
achieve that work-life balance.
I always, every day, I'm grateful that there are so many different great ways to make an income still, but I never forget it could shut down tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Always have that mentality, talent.
Yep.
Whatever you're making, that thing could dive tomorrow, and then what? Always have a backup. Like when OnlyFans was, oh, well, we're gonna do, I'm like, okay, let's do research. I'll have a down month while I'm transitioning, but you know, have a backup plan all the time, because this could crash into a brick wall, especially now with the war against porn by companies.
Especially, yeah.
When I was in it in the 80s, companies could give a shit about us. It was the government, the Mies Commission in 1985, and you know, Bush Jr. and Bush Sr., like of the Republicans. And I'm not getting political, but it was a known fact that when a Republican was in office, they really went after the porn business. Now the government doesn't give two shits about us for the most part, unless you're doing something just so outrageous. But now companies are coming after us, and that hurts the pocketbook. It never hurt me with the governments because they went after companies, not performers.
Yeah.
But always know that it could be taken away tomorrow. So have a backup plan.
You got a backup plan. Even the internet itself is fragile as fuck. Exactly. And no one owns it. It's a miracle that it even exists. It's literally fiber under the sea in a little tube connecting us to Europe, America to Europe. And there's only I think there's 40 or 50 of those tubes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and every now and then a boat anchor drops on one. I used to work for Cogent, an internet company before porn. And it would happen. A boat anchor would drop on one of those tubes, and then no more internet for England, between England and New York. That's fucking cut. Let's work on that. And so, I mean, it's just crazy. And where are we if that goes down for some reason tomorrow? What's my plan? So yeah, you gotta backup plan. Save, prudent reserve or whatever. Fuck you money is good to have, I think.
There you go.
When I
And
was
it starts with $20. It's not like, oh, when I get that big check,
Yeah, when I get
that,
my $1,000, then I
yeah,
can.
then I can start that. As long as I had that mentality, I stayed broke as fuck and desperate, and I kept doing work I didn't want to do. When I started saying, okay, I have $5 in my bank account, $1 of that is going into savings. You know what I mean? Once I
Yeah.
started that, everything else, that's the ticket. You know what I mean? It's just look at it in a percent
I was
situation.
18, I was dating a producer, and he used to say to me, Christy, it won't stay pink forever. Save your money. And I'm thinking,
Mhm.
like, what color is it going to turn? I mean, I'm 55, it's still pink. I don't, but
Turn it gray.
like, you can't do this forever.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I have been doing up at different things. Like, I don't want to do films anymore. That was fun and it was great, but I had that beautiful kind of golden era.
Yeah.
Now I do stuff for my OnlyFans, but I don't foresee myself working for Brazzers or that kind of thing. But it does, it's such an ever-changing business. It's always evolving and changing, and you just got to stay on top of it.
Yeah, you do. And that is the reason why the two of you and Carla and Oliver, who couldn't be with us today, are all, setting your stars in stone here in the adult industry. You're carving your path, and it's your own unique path. And I think that that's really the thing that also leads to longevity, not copying others, creating your path, your own unique niche, knowing who you are, not getting burnt out, not being too full of your persona to step away, do some other work, and refresh yourself, refresh your skills, and come back and bring those skills back to the industry that you love if you want to be here for the long run.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
point
one thing,
is here.
I just thought of, and it's just a small detail, but it could help a
Yeah.
lot of people. Almost everyone I know is OnlyFans, and they're all trading with each other, and that's awesome. And fuck yeah. If you take the time to make a little spreadsheet and figure out chip away at it every day, like just spend an hour every day. Like, where's the paperwork for that shoot? Like, where that trade I did with so-and-so with my buddy, I need at least one model release. You know what I mean? Start connecting those dots. You might be shocked how much money you can make down the road when you repurpose that content. Because a lot of people I know, they have like thousands of scenes, little video clips they shot with their friends, and they're just on OnlyFans, like just living there. But they could also be somewhere else, and you never know. You might flip over a rock and spend a day putting it all on X videos for rev share or whatever, and it fizzle. It doesn't do anything. You're like, well, that didn't work. And then you hit one, and it knocks it out of the park. And it's cringy to talk about how much money you make, but like 2 years ago, I had $180,000 payout from Pornhub out of the blue from just old shitty content that totally fucking sucked that I happen to have releases for, that I was like, well, I'll put that shit on there and see if it works. And for whatever reason, the internet was like, we love this. And they all viewed it. And so I got paid a thousandth of a penny per view on like millions and millions of views. And that changed my business because now I had 180 grand, so I could hire directors and a staff. You know what I mean? But if I wouldn't have had my ducks in a row with the paperwork and the spreadsheets and which file is where, I would have totally missed that, and I wouldn't have that was liftoff point for me. That little bump.
Amazing.
And
That's
everyone has that. We all have that concept.
Yes.
So.
And that's another good point, Lucy. That's a great point to make. In our business, being independent contractors, our income is like this.
Mm-hmm.
And just go with it. Don't expect, let's say you have that 180,000 in a month. Maybe next month you're gonna have 8,000 or
yeah.
Don't go, oh my God, I'm gonna buy a $10 million house and I'm gonna pay it off in 2 years.
Yeah.
No, because that high could go back down. Live within your means.
Yeah, I'm so glad I didn't go buy a $170,000 car right after that. I was like,
but
okay,
that Lamborghini was tempting you, right? I know it.
I was like, oh, I didn't even pay off all my credit card debt. I thought, oh, well, that's a smart thing to do. Instead, I was like, okay, wait. How do I take this and then make it so I don't have to work anymore? Like, what can I hire other people and then I still get a percent? And I took my time. Just a few months later. But that's And I'm not that smart. I just got so sick of being broke and eating hot dogs. You know what I mean? Like, I love hot dogs, but I mean, sometimes you want steak. You know what I mean? So I like, but that everybody I know in porn has at least 100 video clips that could
Right.
be something, but without the paperwork, the model release, and without the bullshit that goes with it, the metadata, it isn't worth shit. So
You're especially nowadays, you're not able to put it on as many places.
yeah, you need
Paperwork and
yeah.
that kind of thing has really been what's getting a lot of people caught up with their clips being either asked to be removed from sites or forcibly removed from sites. And that's part of the war that Chrissy was saying with websites, is because they have all this other pressure on them, so they put it on us to all this extra paperwork that, you know, we were flying under the radar for a while, not feeling like we had to be as stringent on it, but we really do now.
And you can get it retroactively. Like if you shot content with them, it means you probably have their number. So you can text them and say, hey, can you please send me a picture of your ID and I'm going to send you a DocuSign. Can you please? It's just for that thing we did. And I don't know anyone who's like, no. I mean, sometimes people don't get back to you, but like, they'll be like, oh, sure. What? I guess I need one too. Can I get a copy and change the thing? You know what I mean? Like, it's worth chipping away at, even though it seems insurmountable at first. It's like, oh, there's so many files and I don't even know where they are and they're on different hard drives. Just chip away at it. And it will, you might have $100,000 worth of shit sitting in your fucking closet,
right,
on a hard drive, you know?
And you don't even know it. Exactly. So cool. Well, we are coming to the end of our webinar, and I'm so happy to hear what Courtney put into the chat, which this has been one of the best panels that they have ever seen, and they're incredibly valuable. Feeling stuck for a moment in their career, and this helped them a lot. So I'm very glad that we were able to do this today, and that you were able to talk and share your really, like it even kind of helped me get some things back in focus, which I appreciate talking with you all and hearing that. So yeah, with that said, I am Lotus Lane. We have Christy Canyon, Lucy Hart here, speaking on career longevity. And yeah, thank you for joining us today. Have a good rest of your afternoon, everyone.
Nice meeting you.
Bye. Nice meeting you, Christy. Lotus.
Bye.
Bye, Mike.